Welcome back. Today we're discussing episode 56 of the Play Dicely campaign, Squash Soup for the Cursed Soul. This was a fun one! How did it start? Oh, of course, with the discussion of the end of the world. When we all wake up in the morning, Azaria lets us all know that the stars have started to disappear in the sky. That is part of the prophecy that we know of that means the end of the world is coming. Which we knew we only had a couple months left, but this is just fun validation for us. The other thing, though, that we weren't aware was going to happen is that there also seems to be a pinprick of darkness on the surface of the moon. I don't remember if this was during the episode or during the after party we just filmed, but there was discussion about if that rock that just fell into the lake near Balesville was perhaps this piece of moon. There's really nothing we can do at the moment but be concerned, so we just continue our way on to Telna Village. Elowyn is excited and nervous to be headed back here. This is the village she was born in, and though she doesn't remember anything about it, she was 3 years old when they fled, it carries this, strangely significant weight to her. It's the only place in her life that Elowyn's ever felt normal, where her parents were together, her family was happy, she wasn't cursed. There's just a lot to this village in her mind. As we get closer, we realize that there are a bunch of little cottages built in this space. And it's a tiny village, maybe 100 people, but it's filled with elves and Goliaths, and we meet Erdir, the leader of this village. He's a wood elf man around 100 years old, and he welcomes us to this village. He seems to be a little bit confused. I don't think they get visitors all that often here. They're kind of in the middle of nowhere. But he's friendly enough and tells us about some of the key people in this place. Also refers to it as Nara Village, which is different from how Elowyn knows it, but makes sense as the village that Elowyn knew was destroyed in the desolation, and this seems to have been rebuilt by new people. He also mentions to us that they are currently dealing with a tragedy. A young man from the village has recently been inflicted with lycanthropy, and they don't know what to do about that. A lot of talk seems to exist around the idea of just putting him down, putting him out of his misery. And so our group offers to go take a look at him and see if we can do anything. And so that's what we do. We head over to this cage that this young man is being kept in, and we learn that his name is Garen, and he does not seem to be having the best time. We ask him to tell us what happened. He explains that he went on a trip down south with some friends of his, boys that have always been picking on him. They went to a pond, and these boys pranked him by shoving him under the water, drowning him. But as he was in the water, he felt something grab him. And everything's a bit of a blur from that point onwards, but when he regains himself, he finds all of his friends torn into pieces. He's obviously very upset about this. He thinks of himself as a monster. He doesn't remember being bitten by anything necessarily, but we attempt a remove curse on him anyways. But when the spell is cast, a familiar sort of barrier is felt. And Elowyn recognizes this barrier as the stranger, which threw my perception of stranger curses out the window, because I thought that you could only get cursed by the stranger in that forest in the Wilder. Now, I've also theorized that that forest that the stranger is in is not really in the forest in the Wilder, but that forest acts as a portal. I didn't realize that random ponds on the material plane could also act as portals to that same forest. Once we realize what this is, Elowyn asks Garen if he met anyone, and Garen remembers that he does kind of have a vague memory of meeting someone in a very vague state, but accepting this stranger's offer to live, which is how the stranger gets ya. They continue to talk, and Elowyn realizes that he does also have one of these totems of the stranger that Elowyn also possesses, a relic that all people cursed by the stranger carry with them and cannot be rid of. So now this changes things. Cursed by the stranger is something that Elowyn obviously empathizes with quite strongly, and now the talks that the town has of killing this young man because he was cursed by the stranger does not fly for Elowyn. Now, it also just so happens that the other day, Elowyn met with the god of magic, and the god of magic, the Arquette, gave Elowyn some advice on how she could break the stranger's curse. We haven't attempted this yet because it involves breaking open this totem and unleashing a piece of the stranger that we will have to fight. And it felt very dangerous, and we weren't sure we were ready to do that. But this suddenly seems much more pressing. There is no world where Elowyn allows this man to die, to be killed because of this. But are we ready to fight the stranger? What a question. We take a hot second to think about that and go and meet with the healer of the town, an elderly Goliath woman named Udal. Udalal. Udlal. I don't know. She's got this igloo-shaped hut that we go and visit her in. She's in the process of making soup, which is lovely. We ask her some questions about like what happened with Wildeglen. She tells us that a number of the people from their village did continue further east, but then were never heard from again. But she also mentions that she recognizes Nell and wonders if she knows her grandmother. And it is sweet to realize that the Goliaths and the elves that traveled down to Nell's village also stopped up here, and all the people who live up here are pieces and fragments of Nell's history as well. I think it's nice for Elowyn to see these people here because she knows that they are good people. And then we go back to Eridir again to explain to him what we know that's going on with Garen's curse. At the end of this, we decide to just sleep on it and figure out what to do with Garen in the morning. In the morning, Drak casts Commune to speak with the gods and try to get a better understanding of what we are potentially up against. We ask the gods if we are strong enough to destroy this creature trapped in the totem. And it seems to come back as a 50-50 shot, which honestly was better than I expected. We do have a chance to beat this. Once we have this information, there is really no other option to Elowyn. If there is the opportunity that we can do something for Garen right now, we need to take it. Because he is not going to die for this. And it is fascinating that this is how this is happening, because I never would have predicted this. If we were breaking the stranger's curse, I never, ever would have predicted that it would have been for someone other than Elowyn. Not in a million years, but I love this. So, we have a decision. We're gonna do this. We don't know how destructive this might be, so we travel a full day south with Garen and a few other people from the village. We travel until the night, we set up camp, we strategize, we talk, we gather ourselves. And in the morning, Nell and Drak come together to cast Remove Curse on Garen's totem. And it only takes 3 castings of the spell before the totem breaks open, and we are all plunged into darkness. And as we begin to regain our sight, we realize that we are in a forest, and the leaves barely hang on to the trees. But there are other things hanging on the branches of these trees as well, faces. And when we look back at Garen, he is curled up in a ball on the ground, and he himself is lacking a face. And this is absolutely the forest that Elowyn was cursed in. And that's where the episode ends. I had no idea that we were gonna get here today. What a wild ride this episode was. So much fun. Such good character development for Elowyn. I'm spooked, but I'm excited. So you must come join us for our next episode, which will be Sunday, October 1st at 6 p.m. on the Play Dicely YouTube channel. We are going to destroy this thing. But anyways, that's all for now. I hope you are staying happy, staying kind, and as always, remembering to play dicely. Goodbye!